go in the Wayback Machine in horror from the 70s on, there's kind of that final girl situation. And yet it has always been interesting to me that a lot of people will be amazed and shocked that I'm a female that enjoys horror movies. And to me, there are certain aspects of horror that would obviously be appealing to females. And a lot of people just kind of overlook that entirely. Obviously the whole good versus evil, or that kind of nerdy girl that people can identify with, who actually ends up being the one that survives this whole entire nightmare situation, whatever is given in a film. So I always seemed surprised that other people were surprised that I was a fan of horror. And I was also always surprised that, being a female that liked horror, there were a lot of stereotypes immediately put upon me because I liked horror. I must be weird, I must be scary, I must be mentally unhinged. And I think that, thankfully, I think that that has slowly kind of gone with the wind, and people don't approach females in horror, whether it's watching a horror film, being a horror fan, participating in a film, being behind the camera of a film. I think that women are being more respected and appreciated as an equal in the horror genre now than ever before. Because even if I just go back to when I first moved out here to Los Angeles, when I was involved in the industry, and when I also would start to go to, say, like horror conventions, there has been a huge shift in that. I don't know exactly what the catalyst is, and that's what I would love to get other people's opinions on as well with the panel. But I have noticed that there's been a huge shift in the way that women are viewed, and that there are a lot more women who, I think personally, just from people that I know and my own experience, that they were horror fans all along, but they didn't feel comfortable being out as a horror fan, because of perceived misconceptions about people, or whatever the case may be. And that now all of those things are kind of accepted, and it's not a big deal, and people understand. So now they're more accepted within the community and within just the genre as a whole. Again, whether we're talking about someone acting in a film, directing a film, or just being a fan of the film. There are a lot of female horror fans that, in order to get the views, the likes, to, want someone to get their opinion or their take on things, or to get a sponsorship or whatever, they're posting, with the Blu-ray in between their legs, wearing nothing but a thong or G-string or whatever you want to call it. I don't care, underwear. And if that's someone's truth, and that's what they are comfortable with, and that's what they want to do, and they're fine with that, great, do it. But if you're only doing that because you feel that as a female, that's the only way that you're going to be respected, or you're going to be brought into the fold in the horror community, then that's when I have a problem with it. And I do feel like there are people that are doing that, and they feel that they need to do that in order to get accepted. And some of them are, like me, I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. So I don't feel that. But I know that, especially with a lot younger female horror fans, they feel this kind of pressure. And it's still kind of taking it back to that objectifying women and that sort of thing, that if I'm half naked with, stage blood all over me, that maybe then I will be looked at as worthy in the community. So in one way, I feel like it's really evolved, but in another way, I feel like it's kind of still where it was before. So I personally, as a female, I know it's different for me and my perspective, and how other females are viewed in horror and in the community. But I personally, I've always had mostly all male friends. I have very few female friends my whole life. So I've always been kind of that like kid sister and that sort of thing. So I've been treated very well personally, but I have heard other horror stories.
I actually worked with somebody once, a middle-aged lady, I think around, 50 something. And she was very nervous. She was a fan of exploitation films, like very nasty exploitation films. And I mean that in the best possible way. Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, a lot of stuff that you would not expect her to like. And she had a job that, maybe the perception would be you wouldn't be into that sort of thing. And I always felt really bad because she was always really nervous about somebody maybe in her family discovering the show, or she even used a fake name. And I think that's very sad, because I think there are a lot of horror fans out there that don't have to be closeted. It's so silly. You don't have to look like me or be covered in tattoos to love horror. And I would say this to anybody listening to this show right now that might be nervous about letting your voice be heard in the community. Get out there and do it. Start a podcast. You never know. I mean, here I am on this show, and I never would have thought that I'd be doing podcasts. Anybody listening now, please, be heard on this show or anybody else's show. Just get out there, let your voice be heard, and champion what you love, because it's very important.
To see more clips just like this, be sure to subscribe to the Region Free YouTube channel, and also check out the Patreon to get exclusive content and become a Regionaire.